Hi there, folks, and greetings from Hoover, Alabama. Actually, at the Hoover Met Complex here in Birmingham, just outside of Birmingham, Alabama, we just wrapped up with Perfect Game, a wonderful event, the Perfect Game High School Showdown and the High School Academies Division. It's a gathering after what we all went through last year. It's so much fun to be around these high school athletes from around the Southeast. It spreads as far as Texas, where these athletes came from this year, but down into Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic. It was just a wonderful gathering of about 70 teams from around North America wrapped up. Here's the good part about this. The Hoover Met that hosted this event, and there's a beautiful complex down below with 5 or 6 fields. They turned the lights on for us. They knew we were talking to you. We want to greet all of you with PG Midwest. Thanks for joining us on Zoom. My name's Daron Sutton, and I have a fun role. I get to handle all things content with Perfect Game. I have great partners. We're partners with Be Live out of Brooklyn, New York, a great company. My lead in all production is sitting up top, Steve Banta. Certainly glad to have so many great partners. But Perfect Game TV is now a part of Perfect Game Midwest. And that's important to mention that we plan on bringing all that we do, our cameras, our content. We have 3 Sirius XM radio shows each week, year round, on college baseball, college softball, and amateur baseball. We're going to bring them to you. Look, we're already talking to athletes in the Midwest all the time. They're a big part of our journey as content creators. But on behalf of Perfect Game, I'm not going to do much more talking tonight because we're going to have all sorts of experts that can answer your questions. If you're on Zoom, use the chat. I have it set up right there. If I need to lead in because my vision's not that great, I'll do it. Use the chat if you have questions. We've gathered some questions from you. But let's get things started, tell you what's going on the show or on the Zoom tonight. Chris Brown will be joining us, Director of Experience for PG Midwest. I had a conversation just yesterday with Jerry Ford. He's en route to Atlanta, Georgia now, but he has a message for all of you PG Midwesters, and answering questions of who we are. He'll give the backstory. That really can be done by Taylor McCullough, VP of Operations for PG, and Jeremy Brown, one of the great scouts and writers for Perfect Game. And then, of course, if technology cooperates, we're planning on Hall of Famer Trevor Hoffman providing guidance, sharing experiences, and introducing all of you in the PG Midwest family to just who we are with Perfect Game. And so that's the lineup for tonight. Certainly excited to have all of you being a part of it with us. But let's go ahead and do something. Let's get started with some content because that's what we do best. If you haven't seen this before, we're going to bring a couple of pieces of content back to you before we bring in our guest. Let's start with a bit of an introduction. And when you ask, who is PG? Because, by the way, when you're PG Midwest, you're PG. You're not an affiliate. You're a heartbeat and a big part of Perfect Game that we all need. We're thrilled to be a part of. So if you're a coach or an athlete, you're curious, here's a simple video that we put together to answer that question. Who is PG? We are PG.
Perfect Game. Born in 1995 with the goal of opportunity. Opportunity for talented players in the middle of the United States to gain exposure, to develop their skills, and fuel their passion for the game they love, baseball. Born in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, PG swiftly learned that if you always put the game, its young players, the coaches, and their families first, then PG's mantra could become gospel. Grow the game of baseball. More than 250,000 have committed to college. 85% of all players drafted have participated in a PG event. Go. And the alumni roster that have gone on to the major leagues, it's nearly 1,500 deep.
Drives it deep right. Hayward, look.
Playing in the PG, which was the Aflac game, then meeting a ton of players that I'm playing against now. One of the best moments of my life.
Freddie Freeman. He was the first baseman on the team, and I actually played first base in high school, so we'll never forget those memories.
It was awesome. Just try to go up there and just launch, and just to prove that I have it.
41 players in the most recent unforgettable MLB All-Star game have, at one time or another, played in a PG event. And to attempt to put together an all-time roster, well, it would be a futile effort without overlooking dozens and dozens of some of the best players in the world. So in growing the game of baseball, PG has managed to do so at every level, and there are countless aspirational and inspirational stories to tell, lessons to learn, and moments to remember. Perfect Game's ability to produce impactful and desirable content across all platforms has had a dynamic impact on the youth game. With 3 PG Sirius XM radio shows and a network reach of 35 million, a regularly released podcast, and nationally televised live events throughout the year.
Gorman drives one to deep right field. Looking up is Cabell. Goodbye!
And finally, the launch of PerfectGame.tv. And the media presence is fueled by interactivity, with an Instagram following pushing 500,000 and an active email database well beyond 500,000. You see, the next generation of players and fans will be able to take ownership of the game's growth and evolution. And growth is where we find ourselves. Estimated spending associated with the youth and amateur sports tourism market is expected to grow north of $20 billion. And PG has proven a model of economic impact within this developing space. In the recent calendar year of 2020, they hosted nearly 5,600 events, more than 66,000 teams, and 1 million plus players, responsible for 430,000 hotel room nights. And PG aspires to continue to make the baseball experience a family experience in places like Florida, California, New York, Arizona, and Texas, where the game and the destination experience will be at a brand new level. There are Perfect Game events in every region of the country and, as of 2020, more and more globally. Perfect Game. Love the game. It's athletes and their dreams.
Outstanding stuff. So maybe that gives you a bit of a broad overview of who Perfect Game is. Look, I spent 15 years as a Major League Baseball announcer and may do so again someday soon, but this will always be a part of my journey and my family. It's been a thrill to be around these athletes and the growth and the growth that you'll experience as a coach who's a part of it or an athlete who's a part of it. Certainly, I think to help us better explain it, I'd like to bring in Chris Brown. He's the Director of Experience for PG Midwest. Hey, Chris, thanks so much for hanging out with us. This is such a good idea you guys had. You're one of us. We're one of you. I mean, it's funny because Perfect Game is, a broad-reaching scope, but I think we feel like we joined your family as much as you joined ours. And I just wanted to thank you for hanging out with us for a few minutes.
To represent Perfect Game Midwest, but it's great to reconnect with you. It's been a few years since we worked together in the Southern League in the 90s down in Jacksonville, Florida, and spent some time in that warm press box down there. But baseball is about a game about relationships, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of the Perfect Game team and help launch the brand in Kansas City and the Midwest.
So you get a lot of questions all the time, I'm sure regularly. One thing that comes up, and I'm going to talk to Taylor McCullough about this, is the fact, to be clear, Perfect Game Midwest is not an affiliate. Perfect Game Midwest is Perfect Game. And I'd like for you to explain that a little better.
Definitely. We're a big part of bringing the Perfect Game brand to Kansas City and the Midwest area. That is such an elite brand, elite brand in this country. And we're excited to help bring that, the company that Jerry Ford founded to the Kansas City and to the Midwest area, and to bring some high level competition to our market and to our cities, and give some opportunities for some young kids, men and women and young kids to play softball and baseball in Kansas City, and give them the opportunities to grow in this game and to face some great competition, to be seen, and to maybe become better teammates and better players.
How important are things like, it's a couple of words, right? Because I've always felt my 5 years in Milwaukee as a resident in that's the upper Midwest, but there's something about the Midwestern values, the Midwestern core, and I'm sure the athletes and the families are exactly the same at the young person level. So the words validity and trustworthiness, I know those are important words when you're sharing with your clientele, your families, that, hey, we're Midwest Sports Production. Explain to us who Perfect Game is and Perfect Game Midwest. How do those two words apply? Why did you guys choose to come on board and partner with Perfect Game?
Well, I tell you, the opportunity to join, again, the elite brand of Perfect Game and bring that to our market, number one. But number two, Midwest Sports Productions and the company that Jeremy McDowell and his group have built here in Kansas City over the past 12 to 15 years, and the success they've had on and off the field in the community with the core values that really align with Perfect Game, I just think kind of go together. The Midwest values, the family fun, the great camaraderie, the team setting is very important, I think, for what we'll be doing going forward. And you're going to find that here in Kansas City and throughout the metro, no doubt about it.
But I liked Midwest sports production, says some people. I liked everything they were doing. My kid played in a lot of their great events when he was younger. Why this Perfect Game thing? Sell me as a dad who's going to swipe his card to sign a team up, or maybe do a showcase. I've never done a showcase before. I liked who we were before. Are we better now? That's the question.
Yeah, that's a good question, Daron. What I can tell you is that you're still going to have all the fun and the dynamic fun of Midwest Sports Productions, but now you're also going to have the technology that PG brings to the Midwest, to our city, and the scouts and the visibility and the ability to have some high class, high end tournaments here in this region, in this city. So, and I think you're going to see going forward in Kansas City, as you know, there's some big announcements that are headed our way. They're going to be a game changer in this market, in this region. And we'll look forward to announcing those soon.
Yeah, good teaser, by the way. Way to keep things under your hat, have people paying attention to what's going on. So you're a father in this space, too. I'd love to know your perspective. Look, Chris and I haven't been together, folks, since we bumped into each other through the years, but we were together in 1994. Do the math. That's a long time ago. We were both much better looking back then and much younger. But, I'm a dad. You're a dad. You're a father. Tell me a little bit, the dad and you. Tell me, how old is your son? Or is it sons? Help me out here.
Well, I've got a son and a daughter, and they're probably watching right now. Pee Wee Reese is my daughter, but my son is Brett Brown, and he's 13. And I tell you, he's been playing in MSP events for many years now, and he's looking forward to being a part of Perfect Game. And he'll be playing at the high school level here shortly, and we want to make sure that he has the greatest opportunity to succeed at some high level events and competition. And Daron, just like you, I grew up in a Major League Baseball clubhouse for about 8 years in high school and college. I worked for the Kansas City Royals as a bat boy and clubhouse attendant. And I spent the past 25 years in minor league baseball, running a team at a high level for the past 19 years. And I just think at my age, my lifetime here, being a father of a 13-year-old, a teenager that's getting ready to hopefully play some meaningful baseball going forward, this is a way for me to maybe get involved in the game and give back a little bit, and help grow this brand here in Kansas City.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff. I love your perspective as a dad. I think that's very valid when we're asking you the questions, because we're speaking to dads, we're speaking to coaches. And finally, I just want to ask you about some of the things you've learned about Perfect Game. We're both kind of newbies in a way, but some of the things you've learned about Perfect Game that you didn't know before, and why maybe Midwest Sports Production is the perfect marriage, but maybe something you didn't understand. Maybe it's the tech piece, maybe, not understanding really what a showcase is. What are some things about Perfect Game that you didn't know, let's say 6 months ago, that you've learned now that you've become on the inside?
A great question, Daron. And I think for our customers and our fans and our athletes, yeah, exactly. I didn't know about all the technology that Perfect Game has and where it's going in the future, and the stats capabilities, the scouting capabilities. I think that is very, very exciting. Number two, the athletes that have gone on and been successful, that have come up through the game in Perfect Game. You're talking about the Eric Hosmers, Bryce Harpers, Mike Trout, Cody Bellinger. You guys all saw the video here. So the chance to bring that to this city, this region of Kansas City, that's again something that maybe I didn't know about six months ago. So I think our fans and our customers are going to be highly rewarded if they stay in tune and stay with us and jump on the bandwagon. We're about ready to do some historic things in this region and in Kansas City, and grow the game like you've never seen it done.
So, and you touched on it earlier, announcements coming, right? So people need to continue to visit your website, keep an eye on your social. Certainly you can look at the big picture with PG's website and PG's social, but PG Midwest. So you're sharing very clearly with those that are on this Zoom to pass the word. Hop on your website, hop on your social. You got big things coming over the next how long?
Well, Daron, over the next, hopefully, the next few months, you'll see
Yeah.
some things, and over the next 6 months, year, you're going to see a lot of things. So again, I asked you to stay tuned because the Perfect Game brand is growing in Kansas City in a big way, and I'm excited to be a part of it, and it's something that you're going to want to jump on board real soon.
All right, my friend. Thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. We're just starting, but we know you got a busy life. You've informed all of us, and thank you, Chris. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Daron. Great to be here.
Yeah, Chris Brown doing a great job. PG Midwest Director of Experience. A little thoughts when we put things into the mixer of our production team. Here's our pictures, our view, and bringing you on board of who is PG Midwest. Let's see.
Welcome home to the newly formed Perfect Game Midwest, a home embodied by joy, memories, trust, and growth. A home that sits solidly on the foundation laid by Perfect Game Softball, and Midwest Sports Productions. For more than a quarter century, Perfect Game has provided the platform for hundreds of thousands of athletes to find their way to college baseball, the professional ranks, and even the major leagues, with nearly 1,500 reaching that pinnacle. They've been responsible for the new era of the championship destination event, driving the evolution of diamond sports. PG and PG Softball have always placed the athletes, their families, and coaches first, with well-run, impactful events. Now, Midwest Sports Productions, the pace car and youth fast pitch and baseball events blanketing the heart of America, joins forces, standards, and aspirations with PG to form Perfect Game Midwest. The winner? You, your journey, your family, your dreams, your home. And from ours to yours, welcome home to Perfect Game Midwest.
Love that welcome home. Love the concept of welcome home. So home is certainly Iowa when you think about the birthplace of Perfect Game in 1995. Jerry Ford founded it as a father. I'm not going to give too much away because he has a message for you. But he's the founder and the CEO of a group now that you go back to 2020, so many years later, 25 years later, that saw 20,000 teams last year, that has seen 1,500 players go to the major leagues. But it started very simply, and it started with the right kind of values. Jerry, as we said, is en route to Atlanta, Georgia now. Yesterday, within this ballpark, he knew I was going to be talking to you on this Zoom. We put together some of Jerry's thoughts, quick conversation. Jerry Ford welcoming you, the part of the Perfect Game Midwest family. And take it away, Jerry.
First of all, I'd like to welcome Jeremy, Tori, and all the people with Midwest Sports. We're excited to have you now associated with Perfect Game and Midwest Perfect Game. I know I get asked a lot, how and why did we start Perfect Game in the first place? I'll try to give you the short version. Back in 93 and 94, I was a college coach, and we had a very good team, small college in Iowa. We had a very good team, a lot of talent, especially for a small college. But even though I had a background being a scout, I couldn't get the scouting community interested enough to come out and watch these kids play. And what ended up happening was we had two pitchers that ended up pitching in the big leagues, and we had a center fielder that made it to AAA, and we had two other kids that played minor league baseball on that one team. But yet I couldn't get the scouting community interested at all. And it just dawned on me because of a situation I had with my own kids. I had two boys that played baseball and were both very good at it. So both of my sons did end up playing professional baseball. neither one of them were recruited by any Division I college. My youngest son actually pitched in the big leagues for the Yankees, the Brewers, and the Diamondbacks. But yet, there was no colleges, no interest out of high school, no anything. And this is despite the fact that, hell, I had good relationships with pretty much all the area scouts. It's interesting because you folks are also in the Midwest. So you probably know what I'm talking about to a certain extent, other than the fact that it's Iowa rather than Kansas or Missouri or any of the surrounding states where the seasons are different. And so we did. Iowa was pretty much considered. I had my friends tell me that Iowa's just too hard to scout. And so I basically told them that, well, we're going to do something about that. And we did. All the kids were benefiting. We turned Iowa into the easiest of all states to cover, because now scouts would flock to these weekend games that we were having, because instead of going to 100 different high school games in the summertime, they could go to one place in the spring and see the top 100 players. And I try to tell our people all the time that I have no interest in being number two. I don't have any interest in being one of the best. Our interest is being number one and being the best. So along those lines, we strive to do everything that we can, the very best possible way that we can do it. And over the years, we've gained a nice reputation for honesty, integrity, and doing things the right way and treating people the right way. And that's one of the reasons why we're excited to partner with Midwest Sports, because we truly believe that you guys share our thoughts on that.
Incredible stuff. Great insights from Jerry Ford. Enjoyed having that conversation with him. One of the heartbeats of what Jerry has tried to do now that this company has grown, assisted so many athletes, and been a memory-making machine. Think about it as a parent or a coach, what a memory-making machine youth sports is, and amateur sports and high school baseball. It really is. One thing he's decided, though, is that he wants to give back in a large-scale way. His daughter, Jennifer Ford, who is the executive chair of the Perfect Game Cares Foundation, and Trevor Hoffman, who's such a big contributor, who we'll hear from in just a few minutes, putting together a major give back, not just fighting pediatric cancer, which is huge, millions of dollars the All-American Classic has raised for Rady Children's Hospital, but helping me in work with autism, helping so many to do big things and jumping into the communities, maybe the most underserved communities, and making sure they do big things. Here's a little bit more on the efforts of Perfect Game Cares.
Our founder, Jerry Ford, had a vision on wanting to have a mechanism with which to give back for all the success that the platform of PG for profit has found. So Perfect Game Cares was created as that mechanism.
Wherever we'd go, I'd always be drawn to the worst part of town. I just had this desire to get a feel for how everybody lived. It made me think, how the heck did anybody get out of this situation? And so I got to thinking, well, there's got to be something that can be done about this. And that's where we came up with the idea of Perfect Game Cares.
To hear about the Perfect Game Cares program, how they're going to help a a lot of underprivileged kids is pretty special. Something that started as in such infancy stages 25 years ago has grown to an international platform. Is not anything short of amazing, but it's all because of his passion and what he saw a desire to help his kids in his area.
It's not all about teaching them sports. It's about teaching kids from the inside out. It's always good, like I said, to reach back to help somebody climb that ladder that you have climbed.
I see myself in the kids. I grew up in similar situations. I was able to make it out of those situations, realize my dreams. I just feel like it's a part of my life to give back and share those experiences, the things that I utilize to overcome those things and be a success.
There's nothing greater than seeing kids know that in their heart of hearts, they may want to be a professional sports athlete, they maybe want to become a teacher, fireman, and they're getting these options. So Perfect Game Cares has given these kids the opportunities to succeed in more ways than one, and not just sports, but however throughout life, and they're doing a great job.
There's a lot of kids that don't have that guidance or leadership sometimes, and what Perfect Game Cares does is we go out there and try to give them that assistance and let them know that we're here for them.
You know, I truly believe that if you have someone that believes in you and you have the resources needed, you can do a lot in this world.
The Perfect Game Cares Foundation. With help, children can rise. Find out how you can help by visiting perfectgamecares.org.
Hi, Trevor. Good, my friend. We can hear you loud and clear. Thanks for being our keynote speaker tonight. Taylor will answer a lot of questions. I'll give you the floor for just 30 seconds or a minute or two as long as you want to go. And here's what I'd like to start with. You're speaking to PG Midwest high school athletes, right? Guys that want to be you and their coaches and their families. I'll just let you take the floor, and then there's some questions are rolling in right now that I have for you, but why don't you address them and your thoughts on Perfect Game, being a young athlete, and you know how nice it is to join the Midwest family.
Well, it's certainly great being with everybody tonight, and I thank you all for being a part of this. I know everyone's dreams out there involving baseball is ultimately to get to the pinnacle, and that pinnacle is the professional ranks. And you never know when that opportunity starts and when you start to believe that that's a reality. But I think the important thing to really think about as a young baseball player is if you do have that dream, then it can be a reality. It's whether or not you have the opportunity to put the work in, you trust your instruction. More importantly, just go out and have fun in the game. And I think it's great that we have a chance to talk about a number of things. As Daron mentioned, questions will be coming in, but I've been very fortunate to be a part of the Perfect Game for the past close to 10 years. And the number of amazing kids from your area in the Midwest, really across the country, baffles me, not only physically, but just how everyone carries themselves and the respect they have for the game and the respect they have for their competitors and their teammates. And the game is in good hands with you guys in the next generation. I'm in Arizona right now. Fortunately, with all the COVID stuff that's still going on, I'm fortunate that I'm having the opportunity to be with the San Diego Padres in Arizona, and I get to put some eyes on a couple of players that were a part of the All-American Classic. C.J. Abrams, who was a young high school player not too long ago, participating in that game, and a Mackenzie Gore. And just to see the growth from where they sat, where you guys not that long ago, to where they stand today, is incredible to see the growth that they have and the love they have for the game. So thanks for having me tonight.
Yeah, this is really cool, Trevor. Some of the questions that have come in advance, they're simple ones, but I think there's depth to the answers. One of our coaches who jumped in said, what advice do you have for your younger self? If you could be you, Trevor Hoffman, now and go talk to high schooler Trevor Hoffman, what few pieces of advice would you ask that or tell that young man?
Well, God gave us one mouth and two ears for a reason. That's to listen twice as much as we speak. And so there's going to be things that do come across your plate that you might not understand or you have questions about. But I think if you do enough listening, you can learn from not only other people's mistakes or triumphs, but you can figure it out along your line. So I think just being perceptive, being aware of your surroundings, whether it's within the lines of the game of baseball or whether it's in the dugout and you're watching from afar. You can always pick up things that will help you in future endeavors with the game.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Advice a dad wants to know. Trevor, how would you, and you did this as a dad, not only as a player, but you've done this as a father very recently. Advice on navigating the recruiting process for young athletes.
Yeah, good question. Big question and entails a lot. I think you vet the process. You kind of try and decide, honestly, size first. What type of enrollment looks comfortable to you, we'll say. Obviously, how involved you are with that recruiting process and the recruiting coordinator, the institution that you're speaking with. Get a feel for them, get a feel what they're about, what they like to teach, what their values and their principles are. But you also have to have an idea of big, small, mid-size that you're looking to, find for yourself. And I think everybody wants to shoot for those stars. Everybody wants that big school, the big name, the big conference. Sometimes that isn't always the case. And it's okay to be comfortable with that because bottom line is playing time. You got to be on the field to get better, and you got to be given an opportunity to get your at-bats or get your innings and get your reps in the field. And so sometimes you want to set your sights high and you have aspirations to play in some big places, but sometimes the best place for you might not be what you actually thought it was.
It's very interesting. And then just to follow up on that is advice you'd have for parents as they go through this with their young athletes. We're all learning how to parent daily. It never stops, right? But what advice do you have for parents as they go through it with their high school boys?
Yeah, I think one of the big things was just look for an extension of where you come from. What kind of values do you have in your household, and some of the things that are very important in you as a family, and try and sync up with that. I think it'll make the transition a little bit more seamless for your teenager growing into manhood. I know I was very, very fortunate to go through the junior college route and then into Division I baseball, and having two amazing gentlemen kind of be a part of that father figure role for me, and Scott Pickler at Cypress Junior College and Jerry Kindle at the University of Arizona. Very great men in the game of baseball that respected the game, but just more than anything taught life lessons. And so I think when you have these discussions, not only with the recruiting coordinators out there, but you want to speak with the head coaches and get a feel for what they're about and their background. And there's enough information on everybody that you can get involved in the process.
It's interesting you mentioned junior college. We just got someone jump in the chat and said, hey, a lot of people stereotype junior college is not the best option. Gosh, especially now with the evolution of the draft and the dearth of players in college baseball. Speak to why JUCO could be such a good fit for so many, and maybe more so than people think.
Well, I appreciate that, Daron. And all honesty, it went through a little bit of a lull in California where it wasn't the prettiest selection for, we'll say, some of the kids. But I was a late bloomer. I graduated high school at 5'6", 155 pounds, and physically I wouldn't have been able to compete at the Division I level. And so junior college gave me the opportunity to go up against, the next wave or the next level in baseball and get the reps, get the games, that I needed to get better at. And if I hadn't, I don't walk on to the campus in Tucson with a toolbox that was a little bit more full and gave me an opportunity to thrive, to be honest with you. And, everybody wants, again, that opportunity to play professional baseball, but without those two, stepping stops or stops along the way, that doesn't happen. So, I think anytime, and then the second thing is, you're getting closer to a degree. And, honestly, at the end of the day, if you do get that opportunity to go to the next level and you have a piece of paper you can walk away with, man, it's a great opportunity. But you're right about it being a different, animal these days. You have a lot of kids that haven't been able to be on a field for a year and a half. Our minor league system hasn't even been playing games for a year. Everything's gotten suppressed. So, be careful how much you want to bite off out there. And honestly, it's about really just getting on a field somewhere.
From the younger you to the veteran you, either time in the middle, how did you manage struggles? I mean, none of us like to recall our biggest struggles in life, but when you did live there as an athlete, how did you manage it? And how did you evolve in managing struggles as a baseball player?
Yeah, I think you have to understand you're not defined by your success or your struggles. And what ultimately you're looking for is to develop a routine, develop good habits that put you in a position where you might not always, as a hitter, get the hits, but did you put a good pass on the ball and hit the ball hard? Did you execute the pitch that you wanted to? And can I get better with my command with multiple pitches? So I think being a very good self-evaluator is important, not lying to yourself, being honest, and putting in the work. You know, there's no substitute for the physicality that this game will demand, the nutrition that is needed for your body, and sleep. And, you know, those are separators. When people don't want to put the time in for those things, it'll show.
We have a question that just came in. What is your favorite memory from the mound ever? This is from Logan, a 13-year-old in Kansas City. Trev?
Logan, I appreciate the question. I'm gonna say it was my opening debut in South Florida and down in Miami. I had no belief at the time. I mean, I'm grinding through the minor leagues. I get an opportunity to break with the Florida Marlins in their inaugural year, and everything seems so bright. I mean, the stands in the ballpark were incredible. The sky it couldn't have been more blue. The clouds were puffy white. I can close my eyes and see it. And I think anytime you have your first opportunity of anything, it's special. I will say it wasn't on the mound, but my 1999 opportunity to go into the All-Star game in Fenway Park, where they had the All-Century team was introduced, and Ted Williams came out from center field on a golf cart and got to throw out the first pitch to be around some of the greats of the game. I've been pretty blessed to have some great moments in baseball.
Couple more for you. A high schooler who's a freshman. I'm a freshman trying to make a difference in who I am as a baseball player. During my freshman year, what are some things I need to do to take the next step in my baseball career, Trevor? He wants to know.
Honestly, I think you have to find the right junior and senior to look up to find out really what they're all about and to follow their influence. Because, I mean, you think about it, you're coming out of a situation where you're in middle school last year, right? And you're all of a sudden going to be asked to compete and be around kids 3 and 4 years older than you. And so you're in different pages, you're in different stages in your life. You're going to have a permit to drive in a couple of years, and you're going to be cruising off to the games in your own vehicle. And so there's so much growth in front of you. And I love the fact that you're thinking how to better yourself as a ball player. I think you'll know the things that you need to work on as they come, but just slow life down and enjoy the moments that you're going to get to have.
Incredible stuff, Trevor. You got to give us, I mean, there's people out there that logged in. They got to know. You don't have to show us, but just tell us how you throw such an incredible changeup. I never threw it. That's why I never made it out of A ball, dude. I got embarrassed at A ball. What were the keys to throwing your legendary changeup, Trevor Hoffman?
I mean, I could show you the grip with my hand, but I think more importantly, let's talk philosophy behind the changeup. I think, and I again, I mentioned I'm in Arizona with the parent club, the San Diego Padres, and I have 2 or 3 kids come up to me, I mean, they're professional athletes that want to talk changeup. And I'm so humbled that they would take the time to say, hey, can you help me out with it? Because I think that's ultimately how it works. And that's how I developed my changeup. I had a circle change. You can look that up in the books. It's the normal A-OK sign, right? And it turned into a palm ball. But honestly, it's about what's comfortable in your hand as a pitcher to throw. But the philosophy behind the pitch is you have to make it look just like your fastball. You have to have the same arm speed. You don't shorten your stride, in my opinion. You don't pull a lampshade down, in my opinion. You try and make this thing look identical to your fastball so that the deception's with the pitch.
Are you shocked, Trevor? This is a me question. Are you shocked being a longtime major leaguer and a Hall of Famer like my late father was, the best ever? You're one in that group with him. And are you shocked now looking back at the game that you see younger athletes having an impact so quickly? You mentioned a handful with your Padres that are coming quickly. Does it surprise you that the new generation of baseball player maybe is getting there a little bit quicker? Am I right in that?
You're absolutely right, Daron. And, you know, I think that's just a philosophy in the game. And when you talk about some of the questions we've had a minute, you know, up to this point, you're going to be faced with some kids out there going to be faced with a decision like, hey, man, I'm not seeing 28, 29, 33, 34-year-old guys playing this game. And so that time clock is starting so much earlier than we've ever seen before. And we're seeing so much talent in the game. I mean, gosh, Soto and Fernando Tatis on our team, and Mike Trout's an old guy now. It's crazy to think about, but it's also telling you a little something about our next generation of ball player, and that they're ready, they're prepared physically and mentally. And these organizations are making sure that there are things put in place to help all those things, because you're not going to have to do this by yourself. You're not going to not have player development staffs that are going to care about you as a person as much as they care about you as a ball player.
So I'm going to let you go on this one, and we're going to try and reconnect with Taylor here in just a minute. I'm going to let you go on this one because Milwaukee's the upper Midwest. I announced in Milwaukee for 5 years, loved every single second of my time there. Many people forget you pitched in Milwaukee. I'd love to know your Milwaukee Brewers experience, because you're speaking to a Midwest audience, the people, the fans, the journey of being a Midwesterner for a short time in your life.
I couldn't be more amazed with the passion of that fan base in Milwaukee. I came from San Diego, haven't been there 15 years, and I was nervous. I was nervous to walk into a new clubhouse. I was nervous to walk into new surroundings and just a different perspective on how to peel the onion, we'll say. And I couldn't have been more welcomed. I couldn't have been more embraced by the fan base in Milwaukee. And the passion that they had for the Cubs just a little bit south of them was equally as passionate, maybe in another way. And so they really brought out a new and renewed vigor, we'll say, for the game of baseball, playing for and wearing the Brewers across my chest. I was fortunate. I ran into another Hall of Famer like your father, and a former Brewer, Robin Yount, just a couple days ago. And you know how he feels about Milwaukee, and it's so true. So I was very lucky to spend my last 2 years there.
Yeah, Milwaukee, Kansas City, St. Louis, just a good people of the Midwest. Hey, listen, Trevor, thanks for hopping in with us. You've answered a lot of questions for this passionate Perfect Game Midwest group. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it, Daron. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's outstanding stuff. Trevor Hoffman out there in Arizona. I may be hearing Taylor, so before we say goodnight to you on this Zoom, I've gotten some questions that would apply if he happens to be there and can hear me. Taylor, are you back?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I got you, man, loud and clear. I'm going to
all right.
I'm going to throw you like a blazing fastball right out of the gates, because in the middle of Trevor Hoffman's, great words, there was actually a question that's very broad, but I think you can pick it apart, and it kind of applies to what we're talking about. If you don't mind, I'm going to read this to you, okay? This is from Jake. He says, and he's an athlete, obviously. How do I get involved if I'm not part of a travel team, says Jake? I may not have the finances or not on an exclusive club. And this is great because this is somebody who's learning just what Perfect Game is altogether. What does it take to be a part of Perfect Game or to get exposure for college? We didn't talk through this, Taylor, but I think it's a really appropriate, organic question, and I know you are great at handling stuff like this.
No, it's a really good question, and I guess there's a couple different ways to get involved with that on the Perfect Game side. I mean, there's the individual events that we have to get out there and use the platform on the individual side, but also on the tournament side, we have player team bulletin boards to where players can go on there and fill out their information. And there's all kinds of teams that are out there in the different areas that are looking for players or looking for different positions that they're trying to fill their rosters on. So even if you're not on a team now, it can help, that platform can help them find a team as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wanted to talk to you about something that we talked with Chris Brown about earlier, Taylor, and that's the concept of PG Midwest not being an affiliate. I mean, not just someone who's writing a check to the mothership so they can plant their flag of PG. They're family now. We're part of them. They're part of us. Explain.
Yeah, so I mean, about 6 months ago, we really were going through this process of trying to figure out ways that we could get into these different regions around the country. And a lot of the teams and a lot of people know Perfect Game for the national championship events and the big events in Georgia and Florida. And what we were missing in some of these areas was something closer to home to where these guys could play in a Perfect Game event year round or during the whole season. So through the process, we went out and found the PG Midwest crew, and we felt that they were a good fit to the culture and the mindset of what we wanted to do. They really cared about the events and they really put forth the effort toward it. So I'll tell you what, I mean, the last 6 months we've worked tirelessly with the crew of the PG Midwest. We made a trip up there and worked with their staff up there. They're actually have 7 of their ops team down here this weekend, working with our team here in Atlanta for our first big youth event here this weekend, so that they can take that stuff back and really make sure that come the next couple of weeks when they start going with their youth, and then the high school once the summer rolls around, that the customer is getting the true perfect game experience and all the bells and whistles that all of these teams have become accustomed to experiencing through perfect game.
I want to pick apart those bells and whistles. You knew exactly where I wanted to go. So I'm Daron. I'm 13, and I signed up from an awesome team in Kansas City. I'm going to a perfect game event. I've never been to one. What happens next, and what is the lasting experience that I'll even see with regard to virtually? What is coming my way if I take part in a perfect game event?
Well, and Daron, we've talked about this earlier too. I mean, the technology piece, not only on what you're doing with Perfect Game TV, but the Diamondcast experience, the streaming capabilities that are going to be coming on board shortly. And the biggest thing for us when we look at our events and look at what we provide our customers is we don't want that experience to end at the end of the last game. And through the Diamondcast and the stats and the player profiles and the all tournament teams and the scout notes, the scout recaps, the social media content, there's so much that we provide to these customers that lives on as long as they have that profile on the website. And that's where whether you're a major D1 player that has pro aspirations, or as Daron said, or as Trevor was talking about earlier, if you need to be that JUCO player or that D2, D3 player, that's where you need to go to get playing time and to play. All of those college coaches have access to the information on the website. They can go on there and find the video. They can go on there and get the contact info for the players to start that recruiting process, regardless of what level it is.
Yeah, and I think it's important because we're talking to high school athletes. So understand this: if you're a freshman in high school and you go play in a PG event, and Taylor's going to put a big dollop of whipped cream on top of what I say because he knows way better what I'm talking about. But you go, you play, right? You play. Diamondcast, what he's talking about is a scoring app, so that you go onto the website, the game is scored, and it's scored pitch by pitch. And it also is scored to where you will also, all along with that scoring app, have a minimum of a single camera stream. At some events, like we just did here at the high school showdown, there's a 4-camera, television level production, for being a part of it. Once you play in a perfect game event, whether you go to an individual showcase or you play as a team member at a tournament, your page is now yours. And I think for those that really don't know this at all, you are part of the perfect game journey. You are part of it, and that is your resume. That's your baseball resume, right, Taylor? That's a resume that you can share with the coach. Hey, look, if you end up only playing till you're a junior in high school, you still always have that page as a memory placeholder as well.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. Even the teams that go to the national championship events, that statistical data and all of those numbers, it doesn't matter if you're playing there in Kansas City or Wichita or down in Oklahoma or up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where we have our headquarters up there. All of that data is all going to be beside each other and all together on their player profile pages. That you can upload. You can upload headshots. You can upload pictures to it. You fill out all the information about yourself on that as well, and it's the easy way to get that information out there. Also on the site, it's all filter search capabilities for the college coaches and that GPAs, test scores, all of that stuff for the academic side. And like you said, I mean, even if it isn't a college decision that's going to be made by playing, which there's a lot of players it's not, it's still something for you to have throughout that high school career as well. Yeah,
and you guys have standards, right, Taylor? I mean, if you're putting together an event, it's got to be well organized. You have the full staff there. There are standards, certainly. It's not, hey, like I said before with PG Midwest, just put our flag out front, do whatever you want. I mean, you guys, and the standards are getting higher and higher and higher. I'm watching it as this group. It's like anything else. The more you grow, the more danger there is in those standards lowering. But you guys seem to be going the other way as this company grows.
Yeah, and that was the big thing with allowing a group like the PG Midwest into the family per se is they have to withhold those standards that Jerry has created from day one. And, and there's a guy on every field doing the diamond cast, or a girl on every field doing the diamond cast with the iPad, running that field. You're not just showing up to a complex and playing the games. The umpires are turning in the scores and that. I mean, we have full-time staff at all of the tournaments. We're hiring and bringing in a full-time scouting component, which Jeremy can touch on later, but right into the PG Midwest as well, to where they're going to be a home base in Kansas, and he's going to be covering the events, the high school events that are in the region, just like we have the scouts that live in Atlanta, the scouts that live in Florida, Texas, out west, along with the national scouts like Jeremy and Brian Sikowski and Vinny and Jared Goodwin and that crew that will go around to the large events as well.
What are the biggest things you've seen change? First of all, remind everyone when you started a Perfect Game and what it looked like. What it looked like when you started.
Yeah, so this will be summer number 19 for me. So I was a 20-year-old. I was a 20-year-old intern back in 2002. First intern there. There was about 9 of us in the entire company, and we ran 12 events around the country, and we all 9 of us went to all 12 of those events. It didn't matter where it was, and it was Jerry and Betty Ford all the way down to myself, who was the young intern that ran around. And through the years, we built it off our reputation, and as Jerry always said, that's everything for us. And we paid attention to the details and put it out there and earned the trust of college coaches and scouts and the travel teams and the players and that side of it. And every year we added a little bit more, and then we're here today where we're going to run thousands and thousands of events and see close to 70,000 teams throughout the year across the country. And that's what we're excited about with the PG Midwest crew coming on as full time. It's just going to allow that many more kids and families to experience the Perfect Game tournaments, and it's going to allow us to see that many more players, which is exciting.
So I'm not sure if we're going to have Jeremy reconnect, so I'm going to ask you a Jeremy-style question because I think you definitely can answer it as well. He'll do it more from a scout's perspective, but you from, as you say, an adult lifer as with Perfect Game. But with the perspective as a leader of this company, if I'm an athlete, how do I consider if I should go to a Perfect Game showcase? If I play baseball, what advice would you have for me on considering if I should, as an individual, take part in a Perfect Game showcase?
That's a decision that each family is going to make on their own. And, there's the exposure side of it to get your numbers out there and get that out for the college coaches and scouts. But also it's a great barometer for yourself to see how you compare to the other athletes that are your grad year, your age. And, you may be the best player in your high school or you're the best player in your community, but when you get out there on a regional level or a national level, how do you really stack up against the rest of them? And then really, how do you stack up against yourself? If you go to a showcase one year, you get your numbers and your metrics, and then whether it's a year later or 2 years later or 6 months later, however long you feel you need to update your stats, and that it allows you that opportunity to see how you stack up.
Incredible. I think Jeremy is with us, and we'll bring him in. Hey, Jeremy, thanks for coming back and joining us. I appreciate it. I think you heard what Taylor and I were just talking about. Now that you're with us, take his answer and add a little bit more to it on your advice on, look, if you run into me and you're so good at scouting this 13, 14, 15 age, but if I'm interested in coming and I'm a pretty good ball player, I meet you at a Starbucks, what advice do you have for me on why I should go to a showcase and when I should make that decision, Jeremy?
Kind of like Taylor said, it gives you a barometer of where you are currently, where you think you're going to project to be, and it gives you your first set of numbers, especially now that we're doing the 13U and the 14U type showcases. You get to see kind of where you are on a regional level, where you are on a national level. How do I stack up against players who are already committed to a Division I college, especially now that the recruiting process has really expedited. From when I've started, it was mostly junior, seniors. Now we're seeing kids in 8th grade, 9th grade flying off the board. So it's a really good first stepping stone and a good way just to kind of gauge where you are as in terms of a prospect, physically, tools-wise, projection-wise, especially with all of the technology we have now at every showcase. It gives you so much information to pour through, train with, develop, and really enhance your game and take it to the next level.
Folks, Jeremy's such a great scout and such a great rider. Incredible the work he does. I watch him. I'm amazed by it. How much has scouting evolved, Jeremy? How much of a benefit is it to have technology? You have your eyes and they're good. But how much is it to take technology and fold it into what you see with your eyes? Is it a help?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, you can only see so much with your eyes, but say you see a fastball that can just consistently beats hitters up in the zone. Why is it beating hitters up in the zone? Good hitters. And then you start getting the Diamond Kinetics spin track, the pitch tracker. You start seeing the spin rate, how the ball reacts, vertical release height, stuff of that nature. The more detailed you want to get, the further down that rabbit hole we could go. But it kind of tells you what your eyes are seeing and why they're seeing it, how the hitters are reacting to it, the spin rate of the curveball. I mean, everybody knew Carter Stewart a couple years ago had one of the best breaking balls we've seen at the prep level in the last dozen years. But then you get the RPMs being 3,200 plus. That is, you take all the major league spin rates and it's the best of the best there as well. It kind of puts things into perspective for the casual fan as well as the scouting directors and the pro teams.
Please don't name names, but how often do college coaches reach out to you about athletes? Please don't name names.
Enough so. I know some got notifications whenever tweets go through or whenever something comes through, they'll send a message, just especially now with the way recruiting is, not being able to be on the road. That's what, having all this technology, it gives them more info, the streams of every showcase, every tournament. They don't get to be there in person and see every little detail, but I mean, what we're providing right now, I'm sure is invaluable for the college coaches that are not stuck, but they're with their teams now and can't get on the road.
Does it shock you the impact that freshmen and sophomores are having in college that to me is way different than when I played college baseball? Or is it kind of par for the course from what you've been seeing with the evolution of young talent in this game?
I think it's the latter. I mean, we knew that the college crop this year was really going to be enhanced with the freshmen coming in due to the draft and the amount of talent that made it to campus. And we've been following Dylan Cruz since he was a 13, 14-year-old player with the Orlando Scorpions. To see him doing what he's doing now is no surprise at all at LSU. Excuse me. Or you got Robert Moore at Arkansas, who had a couple home runs. He was another festival kid that we've watched go through the ranks, knowing he was one of the best in the country regardless of age. Now all he's doing is he's just doing it on an SEC level, a little bigger stage, brighter lights, but it's the same game, same results. And for us personally, it doesn't come as much of a surprise at all.
So parents are all different, just like coaches are all different. And good parents, parent to the personality of their kids. So there's not one set piece of advice that works for everyone. That being said, when you see a parent that impacts his athlete in a young way, whether it be a 13 or a 14-year-old that you see at a young person showcase or someone about to go to college, what are the good ones doing? What advice do you have when you see with parents that really handle this journey with their kids well?
They're letting their kids take the reign of the process. They're having them talk to the coaches. They're having them make the phone calls, correspond with them, but they're also just letting the kids play their game, not giving them extra things to think about when they're in the box. Just kind of staying in the shadows, letting them play their game, let them have fun, because at the end of the day, it is a game. They are 13, 14 years old. And whether they succeed, whether they fail, just letting them play their game, go through the trials and tribulations on their own while providing a support system, but kind of letting them go on their process, their journey. I think that's really helpful with kids, especially at the younger age.
I think the casual fan thinks, maybe the casual parent or coach thinks, well, it's Texas, it's Florida, it's California. That's where all the big names come from. So it's a little tougher to get out of the Midwest. I think you will tell me that you see a lot of great baseball all over the country, not just on the oceans and not just down on the Gulf. You see it in Michigan, you see it in Iowa, you see talented players, Jeremy, that are coming all over the country and especially in the Midwest, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's easy to point to the warm weather states, but with the way that just the game has evolved, the behind the scenes, the weight training, the the pitching, the hitting, every little thing. You're seeing kids from everywhere. 2 years ago, Nolan Schubart was the MVP of the 14U Festival. You got Alex Mooney, same high school as Schubart, MVP of the All-American Classic. Drew Gray from Illinois, Ian Mahler from Iowa. The list goes on and on with All-Americans, with high-end prep players, Carter Jensen and Robert Moore out of the Kansas City area. Just kind of the boundaries don't matter anymore, or not that they've mattered, but it's not really a hindrance anymore. Players are being found, players are being exposed at a national level at a much earlier age. And I think we're really still just touching the tip of the iceberg here with what we're going to be able to do.
Thanks for riding the tech wave with us tonight, man. I appreciate it. We'll do it again on Tuesday night. And I want you to think like 13U, 14U Select Festival is the high end of what we're going to talk about on Tuesday night. We're going to talk younger and kind of how they play their way up. Then that would be the end of our conversation. Okay.
Love it. Looking forward to it.
All right. Jeremy Brown, Taylor, incredible stuff. Trevor Hoffman, incredible stuff. Chris Brown. Just want to thank all of them for hanging out with us. Taylor, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me.
Perfect Game Midwest family, we're glad you're with us. And certainly this has been an honor to share a journey with you, to introduce you to Jerry Ford, to answer your questions, to help you understand what PG Cares is all about. Look, we didn't accomplish every goal that we wanted to. We had our tech bumps, but that kind of was fun in the end because we brought you Trevor Hoffman as the appetizer and the main course. Visit perfectgame.org. Visit Perfect Game Midwest website, their social as well. There's so many things coming out, as Chris Brown told us earlier. And we're going to keep doing these. Again, Tuesday night, you'll get all the information that will be shared with you. I know they're inviting you in their own way, so keep tight because we're going to be doing this in the youth age groups. Perfect Game is learning along with you about the youth age group. And then at some point very, very soon with a very special guest, we're going to be doing this with regard to fast pitch. Anticipating Hunter Pence coming in. You remember Hunter Pence, Royals fans, right, from a couple of years ago. He'll be coming in and joining us as our keynote speaker on Tuesday night as part of the PG Midwest Town Hall. Again, everything is pending confirmation, family schedules. But as of right now, Hunter is very, very excited to come in with all of you and give some advice to younger athletes out there and you parents. Until then, you hung out on Zoom with us for a bit, and we're going to have them turn the lights off here in Birmingham, Alabama at the gorgeous Hoover Met. But we'll do this again Tuesday. And I can't wait more than anyone, this is about me now, to see all of you at a PG event. Really excited to be out there. We're going to bring all that we do. But welcome to the family and welcome home to Perfect Game Midwest. I feel like I certainly am at home when I deal with everyone in the PG Midwest offices. Peace, folks. Have a great and a safe week. A lot of big announcements coming up this week, certainly for all sorts of things going on around the PG world. Talk to you soon.